Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out ProbateMastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit ProbateMastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content. Let's go ahead and get booted up. So this is the Estate Professionals Mastermind. We hold this call every single week on Tuesdays. If you would like to join in the future and you're not already here live, jump over to ProbateMastery.com. Up at the top of your screen, you are going to sign up for free weekly coaching calls. So this is your opportunity to plug in, ask questions, get a little bit of coaching, hear what other people are doing to have success in the probate and the estate niche. Pretty much everyone here is going to be kind of a real estate specialist. Occasionally we have attorneys and other estate professionals that are serving families that are going through an estate administration or settlement or probate process. So this is for anyone that has a service for folks that are moving through that estate administration type of process. The majority of us are in the real estate space though. So I want to kind of open up the call today by asking you guys, and yes, Lou, I do want you to co-host. 1 second. So I want to open up the call today by asking you all a question. So what are you doing to become or promote yourself as a probate specialist, a probate expert? What are you guys doing to either become or promote yourselves as a probate specialist in your community? So this is where you guys all should know that the call is open for dialogue, open for questions, open for experiences that you're having. So I would ask anyone that's doing feels like you're doing a good job in one area or another of either becoming a probate specialist or promoting yourself as a probate specialist. Hopefully it's both. Hopefully if you're promoting yourself as a probate specialist, you are in some ways a little bit of that specialist. But what are you guys doing? So let me see your hands if someone feels like they're doing a good job of becoming or promoting themselves as a specialist in the probate or the estate niche. All right. I've got a list of things that I want to talk about today in becoming and promoting yourself as a probate specialist, but I would really like to hear from some of you guys. And I'm looking around the room. I know that there's some folks here. I don't see a lot of cameras on, by the way. So if you're in a place where you can turn your camera on, I'd love to be able to see you guys and interact. So Chuck, what are you doing? Unmute yourself for me if
Oh,
you will.
hi. Hi. Wow.
Hey,
Easy enough. Introduce myself as the probate specialist. That's the first
awesome.
thing.
And who?
And it falls, just by default, they know I'm a realtor or a broker in the area. So
Who?
I'm definitely the guy in the chamber that everyone knows I'm probate.
There you go.
I deal
Okay,
with it.
chamber. So Chuck is in the kind of the civic organization world. Do you do anything else besides chamber to kind of promote and introduce yourself as a probate specialist?
Uh,
I
I,
didn't know if you had other
I,
civic groups or
I
not.
no other civic groups, but I'm involved with the school district. So anybody I talk to, literally, hi, what do you do? And they always ask, what do you do? And I say, I specialize in probate. I'm a real estate broker. And it
Yeah,
just kind of goes from there. So
I love
that's my
it.
default.
So, how many of you guys have been in a room and someone said, "What do you do?" and you say, "Oh, I'm a realtor." And they go, "Oh, yeah, my sister's a realtor. My brother's a realtor. My cousin's a realtor. My best friend is a realtor."
Every
And
day.
they start naming off all the different people. What's the likelihood that you're going to jump to the top of their list as a realtor when they just told you all the other realtors that they knew? Pretty slim, pretty difficult. So the way that Chuck is doing it, hey, I'm a probate specialist. I'm a real estate broker that helps families go through the probate process. Now, that does not eliminate Chuck's ability to get other listings and other buyers for his business. It doesn't eliminate that, but immediately he's separated himself. I'm not just a realtor. I specialize in probate.
In full disclosure, when somebody asks me what I do, I always lead with my hobbies, and then they'll ask what I do for professionally, and then I'll say that. Kind
Yep.
of catches them off guard. It keeps the conversation going, and it does. They don't glass over, and within the first 30 seconds.
I love it. There was an old commercial years ago. It was a Chevy truck commercial, and it's been years and years ago, and it stood out to me. A guy walks into a backyard barbecue, and someone says, "Oh, yeah, you're the guy with the Chevy across the street, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "What do you do?" And all of a sudden, he just starts flashing through in his memories. He's loading lumber in the back of the truck. He's out camping and hiking. He's fishing. He's at his kid's birthday party. He's at ball games. And he's like just flashing through all these things that he does that are fun and mostly that he does with his truck because it is a truck commercial. And it comes back to him standing there trying to think of how to answer the question because he's going, I do all these amazingly fun things. And he doesn't lead with, I'm an accountant, I'm a realtor. It's like, I'm doing all these amazingly fun things. And I like presenting myself that way when I'm asked what I do. I like presenting myself that way. Most of you guys know Chad Corbett. Chad's answer is normally as little as possible. Okay, it throws people off. It creates a conversation in many cases. So I want you guys thinking of how to create conversation when you're asked that question. But back to the point that Chuck was making, he introduces himself as the probate specialist. First interaction with kind of a networking group. I'm a probate specialist. I am in the real estate space, but I specialize and focus on estates and probate. I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Let me add one more thing. Because I've been doing that, I just this past Friday or meeting, I had a new financial advisor reach out to me to schedule coffees to talk about probate,
Wow. Okay. There you
and a
go.
CPA out of that same meeting.
All because you um, promoted specifically the probate and the estate niche.
Yeah, things have really picked up. It takes forever, but like every interaction is leading me to other sit downs with professionals that I want in my circle.
Good. Awesome. Cool.
Same
Okay,
here, Bruce. This
David,
week I got called from the guy that has the most probate filings in Tarrant County, and he invited me to a lunch.
an attorney.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got the most filings on across Tarrant County. And then just now I got another call from another attorney for a house, so it's great. It's
so
working.
how have they decided to pursue a relationship with you? What are you doing to promote yourself as a probate specialist that caused them to reach out?
Just letting them know that I could do everything for them that they don't want to do outside their office, and
Okay.
to lower their hourly fee for the client. So anything that I could do to track down somebody or deal with a lien or clean a house out. I just let them know that I'll keep their reputation solid, and I'll make sure I do what I say I'm gonna do.
Awesome. So you open that dialogue. Would that be through mail marketing,
Yeah,
content, cold call? How's that dialogue opening?
through mail right now, but I do want to call them. Every every attorney so far has been uber professional. They're very careful.
Hmm.
I've noticed that they're very careful to even go off referrals. So being involved in the probate association here, the board here now, they're starting to see my face more and more. So it's taken a year and a half of doing this. So it's not fast at all, like he just said. Chuck said it's not fast at all. But
But once
20
you
is plenty.
establish that relationship, you're good.
Yeah, I've got 7 attorneys now that bounce things off of me. So it's starting to. And Chad has said it, and you have said, and everybody said, if you could just build up, you really don't need the PRs if you have, I would say, 20 attorneys giving you referrals or introductions. I think
Yeah.
it's
So here's what I like to tell people. So many people they come into the probate niche and they say, "Hey, I don't want to chase heirs. I don't want to chase grieving family members. I don't want to cold call. I don't want to put mail in front of them. I just want the attorney relationships. And David just told you guys that the attorney relationships are a little bit of a slow build. So what I encourage a lot of people to do is do the things that maybe are a little bit intimidating in the beginning. So get good on the phone. Potentially do some mail marketing. Do some of those things because they're proven and they're predictable. You can get business. You can get a lot of business doing those things. Also, on the side, be building out your attorney relationships, visiting the courthouse, building out your network, creating content online. Do those things, which are going to create a nice, passive, organic, easy form of business. It might take a year, might take 2 years, might take 6 months. I don't know. It depends on your personality and your offer. But start working toward those referrals and that organic business coming to you. And when the organic business matches or passes the business that you're getting from chasing your leads, now you have a choice. Do I want to keep chasing and just keep getting double the business, or do I want to quit the chase and get my 3 or 4 or 5 deals a month from the organic and referral sources? It's up to you. Depends on whether you want 3 deals a month from your organic and referral sources. If you want 6 deals a month, maybe you keep doing both. Maybe you keep chasing and keep working your relationships. Okay. But David just kind of talked 7 attorneys now, 7 attorneys that are at
Yeah.
least introducing him into the conversation. Good job. Keep pushing for the 20.
And I let them know too in my attorney letter. I changed recently one sentence saying that I also sent a letter to your client that's applied for administration or executor. So if you could also make the introduction, it'll help me. So
Cool.
yeah,
Okay. So Chuck is doing, so back to the question at hand, and then I'm going to recap what we have so far. Question at hand is, how are you, A, becoming a probate specialist? B, promoting yourself as a probate specialist? And again, you guys, please remember that I'd like you to at least be a little bit of a specialist before you just go claiming it. Now, there's the fake it till you make it cliche, and I do believe in that. I don't think that you have to know every little thing about probate before you start promoting yourself that way. But I don't want you to be completely clueless either. So if you're going to promote yourself to your audience as a probate specialist or a probate expert, at least know the basics. And if you don't know the basics, jump over to probatemastery.com, maybe get certified
I
or
want
showing up here.
Bruce, can I add just a couple of other things when you're
Yeah.
talking? So I, I know at this point, I feel like I know enough to really be dangerous because I can hold a conversation. But when I'm talking to a CPA or a financial advisor, I'm talking to them from the probate side and the trust side prior to going probate about tax liabilities that the estate would have, and for them to, we talk essentially the process and numbers of why they need to get things ready pre-probate, because the stories, and then it invariably goes to stories that real life stuff they're working on where they have clients that didn't do the things that we're talking about, like setting up trusts and the wills and the pitfalls to David's point about, hey, these are the things that I do that I know you don't want to do or you don't have time. And we just get into all of that, but at least know what your process is for that state you're in or with the county, and start that conversation there. But some of it you can't fake it. You really kind of have to know it. But once you speak a little bit of their language, they're very open, and that conversation will end up working its way into like, hey, let's go meet some other time and let's talk more about this. And that's been my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to know just a little bit so that you can potentially ask some pointed questions. And guys, you can absolutely sort of fake it a little bit without getting really called out. Especially the attorneys, they know that you don't know as much about probate as them, and I don't. I don't need to know as much about probate as the attorney. But I'd like to be able to at least not just nod my head and be an empty brain in front of them when I'm talking. I want to be able to follow along with the conversation. Bill Gross. How's the walk?
It's great because I built my probate business. I structure my day to include an hour walk a day for my health and well-being. But I usually listen to Probate Mastery Zoom call because it's so valuable. So thank you for doing the call and for recognizing me. I just wanted to add maybe something you said, and then maybe give a resource. Um, Rather than fake it, you make it. I think what you're really saying. If you ever saw the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Hmm.
it's the story of a real life man, Frank Abagnale. And somebody asked the real person, Frank Abagnale, how did you pass yourself off as a high school teacher when you were in high school? And he said, if you're just one chapter ahead of everybody else, they think you're the teacher. And I think what
Yeah.
that means for us as realtors is if you know one more thing than your customer, then you become the expert to your customer. Right now, you may not be expert to the attorney, but you can be customer. So I would recommend two things to help you right away for free to learn so you can become an expert or begin your process. One is know whatever forms you need to write a listing or an offer. In California, we have actual separate forms. In other states, you don't. So that's an opportunity to ask the attorney, hey, I'm a real estate agent, or ask your broker on a closed file, what specific wording is different on a probate case than a regular sale? And if it's nothing, now you know it's nothing. But generally, the sharp attorneys have some clause. They have some things they went in there, disclosures to protect the client. And you want to know what that is. And if an attorney tells you what they want, you're really saying to them, let me help you, help yourself. I'll make sure that wording gets in my offer. So number one is whatever wording or forms or verbiage you need, know that. And in California, know the CAR forms for probate purchase. Number two, I would say there's a resource called Executorium, Executorium. And on there, they have resources for every state and county that has probate resources. And I'd recommend everybody to go there. It's the top right square. Click on it, put your county name in your state, and see what is online in your county and or state. So at least you know what's there. And study it. And really, if you're going to do business in your county, there's an endless supply in most counties of information that can help you be the expert. That's
I
my two
love it.
cents.
I love it. And it goes to one of the things that I've often told people for years. You should learn something in order to teach it. You should
Yes.
learn in order to teach. And I did just pop a screen share of Executorium up on the screen and I put it in chat. If you guys can begin to learn things with a mind of being able to teach it, I'm not saying that you have to go out and schedule a class and start hosting seminars and webinars, but if you can learn with a mind of being able to teach it or explain it, you're going to retain a lot more. That goes to something that I know for a fact that Bill Gross did when he started. What was one of the first things you did when you took probate mastery, Bill?
Went to court.
Went to court.
Well, because the teacher said, just go to court once. And what I realized was, now I happen to be in LA, which is the nation's largest probate county, and 99% of probates are in one courthouse, the large probate courthouse in America. So I'm lucky in that regard. But I realized that only by going there and by going on a recon mission to find out where the departments were that held, where the bulletin boards were that had information about classes, where the research room was, where you had free access to information, and then just walking down the halls meeting people. And so I encourage everybody, if you want to be a probate expert, at least go to the court where your case is going to be filed and just see what it looks like. And it varies. Every court's different, every state's different, every county's different. But at least learn something so that you can then share with your customer. I was at court last month, and here's what I learned. Here's where you park. Here's where the coffee place is. Those kinds of things.
Yeah. How much does parking cost? Okay. What do you do after you
Yeah.
park?
Here's
Where's
a
the
hot tip.
clerk's office?
Pay for the parking, and then if there's an attendant, give them the money in advance. Say, this is for my client. Who mentions my name of your business card. They show up in their prepaid. I did that once for a big client. Yeah, and also you sit in court and hear how the judge handles matters. So, for example, I have a court confirmation we got sold today. But because I'm in court regularly, I know that the judge will not accept the order to sign before the hearing date. If it's filed before the hearing date, they discard it. So the attorney said, "Oh, I filed that 3 days ago to be ready." No, that doesn't count. I know because I was in court. No, am I an attorney? Am I giving legal advice? No, but I'm telling the attorney, I listened to the judge. She said we don't count anything that's filed the day before the hearing. So again, that's valuable information for my relationship with my attorney. For free.
Is that Bill?
For free. I'm sorry. Not walking. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. Okay. So, extremely valuable information. And I think that everyone here, and there's a lot of people on this call that have heard us talk about this repetitively, and probably a lot of people on the call that haven't done it yet. Go to the clerk's office. Go to the clerk's office. You don't walk in and say, "Hey, send me all the clients that come in." That's not what you do. They're gonna think you're a weirdo. Um, and maybe they will send you the clients, but they probably won't. Okay. You're gonna go in and say, "Hey, I'm working with clients, and several of them recently have needed to go through probate, and I realized I don't know what the application looks like. Could you tell me if one of my clients needs to apply, where they're going to get the application?" And they're going to say, "Go online," or they're going to say, "Go over into this stack of mailboxes, and there's a stack for probate applications." And then you're going to ask, "Hey, if they come in without a will, is there a different application, or it the same application whether they have a will or no will?" In some courthouses in some states, it's different applications. I want you guys looking at the applications and figuring out what they need to look like. Take it home, mock fill it out. Does it need to be filled out in triplicate? Is it one? Can it be done online? I don't know. I don't know because every courthouse is going to be different. But go look at the application and then ask the clerk, "Hey, once this is filled out, what do they do with it?" And the clerk will probably say they give it to me or they submit it online. Again, I don't know what they're going to say in your local courthouse, but you need to ask what happens after this is filled out. Who do they give this to? Do they pay a filing fee? These are things that you need to understand and be able to talk about. And then ask the clerk, is there some kind of court hearing? Now that's a really dumb question because I can tell you there's absolutely a court hearing, but there really aren't dumb questions. Your job is to engage in a dialogue with the person at the court, the clerk. They'll usually say yes, they have a hearing. Is that normally a couple of days later or a few weeks? Find out how long it takes for that hearing. And like Bill, if it's an open hearing, go to the hearings. Go to a few of them. Go to one at least. Now, I want everyone to know that some courthouses don't allow for open probate hearings. So the hearing comes after the application is submitted. It's scheduled out, typically a couple of weeks out in most counties. In some counties, it could be a couple of months out. But they go with all their supporting documents and they sit in front of the magistrate or the judge and they present their case for why they need to be allowed to open probate. The judge will review everything and typically approve them to open probate, open up the estate. Okay. So sit in one of those hearings if you can. And if the clerk says it's not open, that's okay. At least you tried. A lot of you are in areas where there are open hearings and it'll be a courtroom where there's maybe 4 or 5 families that are all there for the same time window, and the judge calls one family up at a time, and you can sit in the back like a fly in the wall and hear why people are getting denied, why people are getting approved, the instructions that the judge or the court is giving them. Extremely valuable. If you do that, you're going to be ahead of 99.9% of other investors and realtors in the country. 99.9%. You will know more than almost everyone else. You'll definitely be a chapter ahead of your clients. I promise you. If you do that, you're going to be a chapter ahead of the clients that you call. You're going to call them and they're going to say, "Yeah, we haven't had our hearing yet." You're a chapter ahead. You already know what the hearing's going to look like. You can start to offer advice and input. They start to view you as the expert that you want to be. Hey guys, I'm butting in here with a quick ask. If you're getting value out of this coaching today, I want to invite you to check out my Probate Mastery trainings over at www.probatemastery.com. Probate Mastery is for you if you're an agent or an investor that wants to work with motivated sellers that have inherited real estate that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. These sellers are more appreciative, willing to trust your expertise, and less likely to nickel and dime you over commission or price. Why is that? They're often in the middle of a complex probate or an estate administration process, and this means that real estate is very often a burden on them, and they simply need the help. Inside of Probate Mastery, I teach you exactly where to source your leads, how to establish value, and offer your service in a way that quickly makes you, as the professional, your market's expert in the probate space. If you want to know a little bit more, go over to www.probatemastery.com. Hope to see you guys inside of the community. Thanks. Okay. So who else? What else are you guys doing to either become or promote yourself as a specialist or expert in the probate and estate niche? What else do we have, guys?
It's Chuck again. One other thing I forgot to mention, I did find out who the probate judge was, invited him out to lunch. Had a great call, had a great conversation.
Amazing. At lunch?
At lunch.
At lunch.
Took him to
Outstanding.
lunch.
Yep. How many of you listen to that and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could reach out to the judge? That makes me panic a little bit. What'd that call go like, Chuck? Was it pretty easy?
One, it helped that they recognized me from Chamber. And then I found out that she happened to be a probate judge, and I just said, "Hey," and this was months ago. And I said, "I'm looking at this sector or this niche. I'd like to find out what you know and what you'd be willing to share with me." So
Love it.
sure, and I coffee and then lunch.
Yep. Be networked, guys. Be networked. That's one of the top ways to promote. Actually, it's one of the top ways to become the specialist that you want to be, but it's also a great way to promote yourself as a specialist. Now, I want everyone to know if I'm going to a judge that oversees the probate process, I'm not walking into the judge's chambers going, hey, I'm a certified probate expert. Send me all your clients. The what we deem to be an expert in the real estate space is generally not the same as in the law space, in the legal space. So we haven't gone through 3 years of law school. We haven't clerked in a law office. We're not judges, okay? We may not know the law, but we know as real estate specialists, we know how to fill in the gaps. We know enough about the process to be a mile ahead of the clients, a mile ahead of most of the vendors that the clients are working with, and we should know marketing. We should know marketing. So if you are not a probate specialist and you'd like to be one, um, another commercial, jump to probatemastery.com and get certified. So there's a full certification course. It's actually currently 2 courses. So you've got Chad Corbett's original version that's 15, 16 hours long, comes with the certified probate expert designation. We're also in the middle of relaunching Probate Mastery. We're calling it Probate Mastery 2.0. Anybody that gets Mastery gets that as well. So 2.0 is currently a weekly class. Sometimes we run 2 classes in a week. We're doing one today on prospecting. So how to bring up real estate in your prospecting call. We're doing that in 1 hour. 1 hour from now, we're doing that on 2.0. So anybody that gets Mastery is invited to the live classes. All the live classes are recorded and they are going to form the backbone for a brand new 30+ hour Probate Mastery certification course. So you guys get both, access to both if you want to, from a knowledge standpoint, become a probate expert. But let me tell you guys, being a probate specialist or a probate expert is more than just having a head full of knowledge. It's more than that. It's about being recognized as being a specialist or an expert in your market. Um, I grew up in a house with preachers, with pastors. So my mom, my dad, my brother now, they're all in like a Christian pastoral type of ministry. And we were in the country, and I'd go to bed at night, and nobody knows this. I'm sure that some of the some of the parishioners would probably be mortified if they knew this, but I'd go to bed at night, and it was an old farmhouse, and the house was heated with a wood stove. Okay, and how do you heat a two-story house when your only heat source is a wood stove? You put vents in the floor and the heat rises through the vents. So my bedroom was over top of the kitchen, and people would come over and they'd have dinner with my parents, and we'd sit around and we'd have dinner, and then mom and dad would send me to bed as a kid. And instead of laying in bed, I'd lay on the floor and I'd listen to the conversation through the vent. And I heard some doozy stories, some doozy stories. Um, so in um, in saying that, oh my gosh, where was I going with that? Um, so becoming a specialist in becoming a specialist in probate is more about the head knowledge, and I don't know where I was going with that, guys. So please forgive me. It's more about the head knowledge. It's you put it into practice. People need to hear and see. I was going to make such a good point with that. People need to hear and see your some of the knowledge that you've accumulated. So go out, get a chapter ahead of your students, like Bill said, get a chapter ahead, and then begin to teach it. So what are you going to do? Once you have the head knowledge, you're going to put it into practice. I want you to make calls. I want you guys to talk to your sphere of influence. I'm going to speak to the investors on the call here real quick. If you are an agent, I'm assuming, and I know that this is wildly wrong of some real estate agents. If you're an agent, I would assume that you're already doing this. If you are an investor, you're not an agent. Nobody talks to you guys as investors about building a strong relationship base. Sphere of influence is what we're preached at day in, day out from our brokers in the realtor space. But if you're an investor, build up a strong base of friends, a strong base of people that you know. That's where a lot of business comes from. Now, realtors, you guys know this. You at least you should. You don't all practice it, but you know that past clients and your connections and your friends are where a lot of business comes from. And I want you having that. Investors, same thing really needs to apply to you guys. Use your conversations with those people that you know to talk about the probate niche, talk about the probate specialty. I want your audience to know that you're probate or estate specialists, probate or estate experts. I want them to know this. I got a call from a longtime friend of mine, one of the very first clients that I worked with when I moved to North Carolina, and this has been 10 years ago. Back then, they called me on a radio ad that I did where I said, I'll sell your house in 29 days, and if I don't, I'll sell it for free. And they called me, and they were one of the first people that came in from that radio ad that I ran. And I was running that ad for 5 months before I found them. I'd spent $25,000, and they were my first client to get that first client signed up. And we stayed in touch. This client has referred me a couple of times recently, and she called me this week. We haven't talked for at least a year. My mistake. That's a big problem. You should never go a year without talking to someone that's a good referral partner, a good person in your sphere. But we hadn't. She called me and she said, Bruce, I'm calling you because I know that your specialty is in probate. My husband's mom passed away a couple of months ago. We're going through probate, and I'm just not so sure if the attorney is taking care of us. And that was her question. I don't know if the attorney's taking care of us. Can I ask you a few questions? She asked me a few questions. After a 10-minute conversation, I said, are you guys keeping the house? And she said, no, we're probably going to sell it. Okay. But she didn't call me to say, we're selling the house. She called me to say, I know you know probate, and I want to make sure that I'm getting the information I need from our attorney. So this is someone that has put me on a pedestal above the attorney even. Now, I guarantee I don't know half of what the attorney knows about the process. I guarantee it. My client thinks I do, though. Okay. And she called me about that. I would much rather people call me long before they're thinking about the real estate so that I can build the relationship and build the credibility. So I want you guys, your audience, your sphere of influence needs to know that you specialize. Don't get to the point where you say, hey, the only thing that I work is probate. You don't need to say that. They need, those of you that are in real estate, you get other listings, you get other purchase opportunities. So you don't say that, but you make sure that your audience knows that you specialize in probate. So number one, know enough to be a chapter ahead. Number two, make sure that your audience knows. Number three, and this is where I'd love to hear from some of you guys that are content creators, create content. Create content. So, do I have anyone who's a content creator? Either you create material on for social media, you create YouTube videos, you create blogs, you have websites. What are you guys doing to promote yourself organically online as probate specialists? Who's doing this? So I know for a fact that Bill Gross does this. I also believe that David Pinnell does this. I'm looking around the room. Anybody else? Promote yourself through content or online as a probate specialist. Man, you're making it hard on my editor. Have to trim a bunch of stuff out. David, what are you doing? You're muted.
Everything I possibly can. I need to get better at making more videos like Bill Gross. That is a big thing this year I need to do. But I've been working on my letter system to make it more detailed. But yeah, video and then posting blogs on different keywords,
Yep.
figuring out what the keywords are people actually using to find you.
Mhm.
And I've always said, if you guys do it, this is a great idea, is to do someone's at my door, is to make videos with attorneys like Bill Gross does and
Mhm.
rank higher than them on their own search engine.
Yeah, that's the key. Rank higher than the people that you're making a video for. So understand what your future clients are looking for. Mom dies. Okay. I hate to use that example, but it's probably one of the most common. Mom dies and uh, they are grieving. Okay. Is the first thing that they look for how to find a realtor to sell mom's house? No. That is probably the 900th thing that they look for if they would even go to Google and look for that. And I probably won't go to Google and look for it. So if your content is about how to find a realtor to buy mom's house, how to find an investor to buy a probate house, um, it's unlikely that someone is going to Google and looking for that. What are they looking for? How to find a probate attorney. How much does probate cost? How to complete Form 203B. Okay, I just made that up. There is no 203B, but every state has different forms and applications and things like that. So figure out what they're looking for. How to have an estate sale. Um, how do I need to apply for probate? Things like that. That's what people are looking for. It's very rarely who's an investor that can help me with the probate process. They don't look for that. So create content around what they're looking for. One of the biggest things that I know is many times people already have an idea of an attorney that might help with probate, and they will go look at that attorney online. So maybe they already have an idea of where they're going to go, but they go, "Hey, I hear that Jane Smith is a good probate attorney here." And they'll say Jane Smith probate attorney and they'll pop that into Google And if you've done a good job of interviewing and promoting your vendors and your partners, if you've done a good job of promoting them online, your stuff will show up first ahead of theirs. Why? They're an attorney. They're practicing law. They're dealing with legal things. You, as a professional in the probate space, should be a good marketer. Our job is marketing first. How we get paid is by buying real estate and flipping it if we're an investor, or listing real estate if you're a real estate agent. That's just how you get paid. You don't get clients if you're not a professional marketer. So become a professional marketer and then start to market the services of your trusted advisors. If somebody looks up my probate attorney in my local area, I want my content, my videos, my blogs, my website, I want it showing up first ahead of my attorney. Why? Not because they need to sell their house right now, but I need to start getting that familiarity with them early before they really know or are ready for my specific direct services. So think about what your audience is looking for and begin to promote that online. Be keyword heavy with your videos and your blogs, potentially a website if you have a estate or probate specific website. Make sure that you're ranking high. So some homework for everyone is going to be go out, do a quick Google search for what you think you would look for, what you would Google if you had to file for probate. And then in Google, go down to the other suggested search terms. It'll say something like other people searched for this, and it'll give you a list of 4 or 5 additional search terms. And create content around those search terms. It's what people are looking for. Put yourself in the path that they're on. A lot of times we try to force people into the path that we want them to be on. And what's the path we want them to be on? I want to sell mom's house. I need a listing agent that specializes in probate. That's the path we want them to be on. It's not the path they're on. Okay. Find the path that they're on, what they're looking for, what they're asking, and put yourself there. Even if it's not a way that you can directly get paid. So even if you help someone fill out an application, you don't necessarily get paid for that, but help them. It's where the relationship comes from. Show them how to do it. Give them a checklist. Show them the timeline. Show them how much it costs to apply for probate. Talk about your favorite attorneys on a video or a blog. Okay. Promote other people's businesses. They'll if they're a vendor, they'll reciprocate it. At least they should reciprocate it and love you. I'm promoting your business. I don't even have to ask them to promote my business. It just kind of organically happens if I push their business enough. But the main reason to do this is so that you can put yourself in the path that the consumer is on. That's how you become and promote yourself as a certified probate expert or a probate specialist in the real estate space. Start to be the person that people see over and over and over again. Here in my market, and I haven't seen Courtney on these calls here for a little bit, but I work really frequently with Courtney Rollins. He's an investor here in my market. And Courtney has gone out mostly through video, pretty much all through video, and he's found what people are looking for. So if I were to go to Google in my area, and my area is Raleigh or Durham, North Carolina, Courtney lives in Durham, Durham, and I say to Google, how to apply for probate in Durham, North Carolina. I think most of us would agree. If you need to go through probate, that's one of the first things that you're going to search for. If I type that in, I find 3 or 4 links that Google promotes on page 1 that are all Courtney's, and they're all video. They're all video. He essentially owns the video section of page 1 of Google under that search term. That's your job. Own sections of Google on page 1 under certain search terms. Business comes out of that. Business absolutely comes out of that. Apples to oranges comparison. But if you go to Google and you say, where to get probate leads. And I think everyone here knows, just in case you don't know, I don't do probate leads. I have companies that I like and refer to, but I don't do probate leads. But if you go to Google and you say, I'm a realtor, where do I get probate leads? I have 3 or 4 pages, videos, links, blogs that show up on page 1 of Google under that search term. That's your goal. That's your goal. Somebody looks for something, even if it's not something that you directly provide. You know that if there's a house involved, they're going to need help at some point in the near or medium future. It might be next month, it might be 8 months from now. You know they're going to need that. Give them what they want now. Establish trust, establish credibility, show them that you're a specialist and an expert, and the business, your payday will come. You just have to help them where they are. And don't try to force them into needing what you want to sell them right now. They'll generally come to it in their own time. Now, you do owe it to yourself to add to your skills of influence and salesmanship. You owe it to yourself because there's a lot of people that maybe should sell a house now and they're not because they're misinformed. So, kind of the example that I used a little bit ago, I got the call from a past client of mine. And she said, hey, we don't know if the attorney's telling us right. And I asked her about the real estate, and she said, yeah, we're going to sell after probate closes. And I said, oh, well, what about why are you waiting until after probate closes? The attorney told us we needed to. Okay. By the way, that's not correct. Okay. So it gave me an opportunity to educate her a little bit, and I'll probably get a listing long before probate closes. But I started the conversation over something unrelated to the house. And then because I've worked on my skills, I was able to redirect that conversation into real estate delicately. Okay. If the way that you redirect is go, hey, I want to get paid. Do you want to sell your house with me? You're probably just going to get a no. Okay. So delicately add to your skill and be able to redirect conversations and set appointments, even when someone isn't quite at that place where they might not have been thinking about it right away. So do work on your salesmanship, but also recognize you're typically going to provide services to people that are not related to real estate long before the real estate need comes up. So those are some of the ways that I like to become and promote myself as a probate specialist. So number 1, get certified. David, I'll call on you in just a second. Get certified. So if you want the training and education, go to probatemastery.com. By the way, if you want to dip your toe in the water, you're not a probate specialist, you haven't taken Probate Mastery, dip your toe in the water, completely free. Go to probatemastery.com. Up at the top of the page, there's a little red banner and it says sign up for Probate Foundations. It's a free class, teaching it tomorrow afternoon. Everyone here who's already already taken Probate Mastery, you're welcome to come to that. It's very basic, so you'll get far more in Probate Mastery. But if you want to dip your toe in the water and kind of explore this niche, come to the free class tomorrow. And because a lot of people watch this after the fact, that would be March 19th, 2025. If you missed that date, I do it every week or two. So you can always find a new Probate Foundations class on the top of Mastery. So get certified. Number 2, visit the courthouse. Get to know everything that you can about the process. Interview specialists. So promote other vendors. Join groups like Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis, Lions Club, civic organization, churches. When you talk to people, make sure that they know that what you do is you specialize in probate, but you're in the real estate space. So specialize in probate. Talk to your sphere of influence, market, create content. Okay, there's plenty of other things that you guys can do. David Cordero, you had your hand up a second ago. What do you have for us?
Do you typically list or lock up a property prior to the letters of testamentary or letters of administration?
Well, there's no way to lock up a property, lock it up prior to letters testamentary. For those that don't know, letters testamentary is probably the most common term, commonly used term for court approval for probate. So you go to court, you sit in front of the judge, all your paperwork's in order. The judge will say, "Hey, I'm granting you letters testamentary." Sometimes the judge will call it letters of authority or letters of administration, a lot of different names, but letters testamentary. You're given approval to open probate after your court hearing. Um, if you sign a listing agreement or a purchase agreement prior to the letters of testamentary are given, they can back out. Like there's nothing binding about a signed listing agreement or contract if the court hasn't approved it yet. Sometimes I do. And I'll usually say, hey, this is contingent on you getting approval. If you don't get approval, this is no good. But at least I can kind of get started on the process on my end. Okay, so if I lock it up, um, I'm doing it more for the emotional commitment than I am the legal commitment. Now, I don't have to redo my paperwork. I can move to closing. So if they go get their letters testamentary and they want to keep moving with me, I don't necessarily have to sign a new contract. Um, but I think it would be safe to sign a new contract. If I do, I just want to be really clear. If I do that, it's going to definitely be for the emotional commitment. I can't hold them to anything if we've signed our agreement before their letters come out.
Got
Right.
it.
Yeah. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Both. So recently I had a listing that we didn't have the letters yet, and so we signed the listing. I figured it was the same situation as you just mentioned, that it's not 100% legally binding. But I did speak with their attorney, and their attorney said, it's I said, can we do this? And she's like, yeah, you can. And I said, is it binding? And she's like, like,
No,
not really.
I can
But
get them out of it. That's what she was saying. I could get them out of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we just did it. We just went for it. And sure enough, we closed and they were happy. And we did not have to rewrite the paperwork or anything of that nature. Escrow took it. But I understand where you're coming from on that, because technically they're not, they don't have the authority until after that court order. So if they signed the contract prior to getting authority, is it legal? And I guess when I asked that question, she said you'll get a different answer from a different attorney depending on who you talk to. So it's a flip of a coin, I guess.
So they want to sell. In your situation, they want to sell. They probably wanted it on the market before their authority came over. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, they want it on the market. You can't really market a property without a listing agreement. So I think it's totally fine to get it on, sign a listing agreement, market the property, um, kind of jump the gun a little bit on getting the property on the market. What can't happen is you can't close until the authority comes out. Have you guys ever seen in your those of you that buy probate lists or maybe get pull probate records, you go into your probate records and you see a house that has been on the market for 3 months or been pending for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, and then you go in and you see that they just applied for probate. A lot of times, those are people that just typically out of ignorance jump the gun a little bit. Families do this all the time. They're like, hey, I've got to sell this house. Let's get it on the market. They get it on the market. They get a buyer. They move to closing. And a week before closing, the attorney or title company says, oh, hey, we can't close. You guys have to open probate. So then they go apply for probate. They don't want to lose the buyer. The buyer doesn't want to lose the house, but everyone just goes into a holding pattern while they apply for probate and wait for their court hearing. Happens all the time.
Yeah. The caveat to that was it had to be uncontested, so no other heirs.
Mhm.
according to the attorney. So they said if there was other errors, that I would recommend something totally different. But it was just only one person, uncontested. And then also when we listed the property, we put contingent upon probate court hearing.
Yep.
So those were the two caveats on those.
Great. Great. I love it. I would if the family wants to get it on the market and get ahead on selling the house, I would have no hesitation signing generally uncontested, signing a listing agreement as long as I know the risk. And the risk for me is they get their letters testamentary. I've marketed the property, I've spent money on it, and they decide they don't like me. And they go, hey, your listing agreement's not enforceable. I'm stuck. So, knowing the risk, I would have no problem signing a listing agreement ahead of that, as long as everybody knows it's not enforceable. We're doing this so that we can get it on the market and get ahead. We can't close until you get your letters. Cool. All right. Good question. Anybody else? We're coming up to the top of the hour. Do I have any other questions or comments? I greatly appreciate everybody that's contributed. David and Bill and Chuck. And why am I skipping people? Who else am I skipping? Um, you guys are awesome. I love the interaction. I love the questions. If you want more of this and you haven't been here before, put it on your calendar every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Eastern time. I always get people showing up an hour later, an hour early. So 2 o'clock Eastern time is when we do this call. Do the math and make it your time zone. If you're David Cordero, what time is it, David? 9 o'clock a.m.
9, 9
8 a.m.
a.m.
9 a.m. All right. So David's got to start early out in Hawaii. Um, so look forward to hearing you guys. And I remember the story that I started listening, my parents being pastors. One of the most common things that I heard with people through the event, they'd come over and talk to mom and dad. I heard this all the time. We want to be leaders. We want to be leaders. We want people to follow us. We want to lead the group. We want to do that. We want to preach. We want to stand on the stage. And I learned this. I heard this comment over and over and over again. Hey, if you want to be a leader and you turn around, nobody's following you, you're not a leader. Okay, you want to be a leader, doesn't mean you're a leader. You got to build a following. Okay. So I'm just going to encourage you guys you could have a head full of knowledge. You could be far advanced from the rest of us, but you need to learn how to lead. You need to learn how to teach. You need to learn how to provide value. Provide value. And as your following starts to pick up, you'll get more business. So those things that you're learning by taking the classes, by going to the courthouse, by studying the applications, by talking to lawyers, those things that you're learning, I want you to put them into practice. Don't just sit with that head full of knowledge. Put it into practice. Start to teach it. Do a video, write a blog, create a website, call your sphere of influence and tell them that you specialize in probate. Okay. There's ways of diplomatically doing this where it's not a weird conversation, but practice some of the things that you're learning. Make sure that people understand that this is a specialty of yours. Agents and investors with a specialty always stand apart from generalists. Always. It doesn't mean that you can't do the general real estate business, but promote a specialty. All right, and with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate everybody being here. See you guys next week. For those that are in Mastery, we are having our class in 30 minutes, 3:30 Eastern time. It is how to bring real estate up in a probate prospecting conversation. So you're at the door, you're on the phone. How and when do you bring real estate up? See you guys there. If you're not in Probate Mastery, go sign up. You can get in on that class. It is recorded, so it'll be put in the Probate Mastery 2.0 portal within a day or two of the class finishing. Thanks, guys. See you soon.